GNASS. Two degenerates, both sides of the border. John Santino, Alex Lacasse. The Great North American Sports Show. Welcome in. It's another special edition of GNASS. Well, I shouldn't say another because we are approaching the real time of the year if you are a fan of Kawhi Leonard. Because, Alex, we are about to enter the NBA postseason.
That's right, John. We're gearing up for another edition of the NBA playoffs here on GNASS as we record on April 8th in the year of our Lord 2023 here in the afternoon, just before a little small appetizer of NBA actions set to tip off this afternoon. John and I were going to break down the LeBron James Invitational Play-In Tournament. His Lakers still have a lot to play for tomorrow, as there are hundreds of permutations of how the seeds, the 5 through 10, were going to organize themselves here in the NBA playoffs. The Lakers do have a chance to play themselves out of this fray, so we'll see what happens on the final day of the NBA season.
Not fully out of it, Alex, just into that classic 9 seed, so they'd have to go through an extra Oklahoma City speed bump to make their playoff appearance.
Oh, okay. So we'll break down all the matchups. We'll give you our NBA Finals picks, and last but certainly not least, we'll try to help you win some cash, or at least break even. And we'll wrap up with Degenerates Corner. John, we do know, just jumping right into it, we do know at least the more or less how the East Play-In tournament is going to be organized. The Heat and Hawks are going to play in the 7-8 game. The Raptors, I guess they could slip down to 10 by the end of the season. Just what are your thoughts going into the Eastern half of the play-in?
I mean, to be honest, the Eastern half of the play-in side, man, it's a bit depressing because none of these teams really, I know that, for example, you ask the Raptors players or some of the guys in the Heat, like Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, they'll tell you our teams are legit, we can make some noise. But I mean, looking at these guys as a whole, even my Raptors, the Bulls, as you mentioned, Hawks and the Heat, these are non-factor teams, man. These are teams in a state of flux, quite frankly, and I really don't see any of them making a push, but we can jump in really quickly because I do think between the 4 of them, there will be quite entertaining games because they are so evenly matched from a parity perspective. Just looking at the Chicago Bulls, to me, them versus the Raptors is a good team. It's a good story with DeMar DeRozan playing against his former team. DeMar DeRozan, though, Alex,
feels like an over to me.
What's up?
Feels like an over to me.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, yeah, just game total over.
Oh, yeah, definitely over.
No defense.
Oh, 0-0. There won't be a lot because, I mean, now that the Raptors are trying to get back in the swing of things, they got Trent and Van Vliet shooting again. But DeMar DeRozan, Alex, in elimination games, 3-7 career with a -72 rating. I personally think that this is the Raptors' game to lose, despite the state of flux the team is currently in. How about yourself?
I would tend to agree with you there. The Raptors, though it was a bad sign, they have 2 games against the Celtics, maybe move into that 7-8 game and give themselves, really 2 chances to play into the playoffs rather than, you got to beat this, terrible Bulls team. So, but the first game against the Celtics, I think Tatum was out. Either way, the Celtics were without a lot of their guys, and Raptors nearly pulled that one out. So you think, all right, you come back in the second game of a back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but back-to-back games in Boston against the Celtics. Completely quit. That game was over halfway through the first quarter. The Raptors just never got into the game. I think they pulled it in 13 points really, really late in the third quarter, but I mean, it almost got up as many as 40 points. It was bad. So that would give me a little pause for concern if I'm a Raptors fan.
You gotta remember the Raptors are in a bit of a state of flux, man. It does feel a bit from a Raptors fan perspective this team is pulling the chute a bit early on the season. It started, quite frankly, early on just with rumblings all the Nick Nurse rumors popping up, and then he unprompted kind of says he's low-key leaving the team at the end of the season. So this is a team in a state of flux, and on the court, chemistry wise, it doesn't feel like it's working with everyone trying to crowd the paint. And the numbers say as much with, 3 of their primary 3-point shooters, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet, not only is there shooting down in terms of threes made, it's down in terms of threes attempted too. So I think the Raptors have a lot of things to work out. Personally, I think if they were thinking about this holistically, they would have preferred to miss the playoffs this year and be in the Wemby sweepstakes. But Alex, you and I both know Masai Ujiri doesn't play the game that way.
For sure. And I think the Raptors, given how flexible their roster is in terms of personnel, I think they're going to be major players if there are big names, somewhere to be had out there in the offseason. So certainly they're always going to be a team to keep their eye on. So when we look at this other game, John, 7-8 Heat Hawks, I think they, given how dysfunctional the Hawks have been this season, and it seems like we're talking about the Hawks' dysfunction every year now, this
It
seems like
never ends,
again
man. It never ends.
the Heat should be locking up this 7 seed and playing the Celtics in the first round.
I 100% agree with you. And like, it feels like it never ends with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, just starting with what do we say about the whole John Collins saga, man? Like, it's just weird, like everything how it's played out. And it's this team is kind of like I said, all four of these teams feel like they're in a degree of flux just because of to your point, whether it's like drama within the roster or the coaching staff or the front offices, but they all feel like they're in a flux. And with Atlanta, this just feels like a different kind of mess, to be honest. Like if and Trae Young, by the way, low key, is his career kind of modeling after James Harden here, where he's like high scoring guard, can't really seem to get his team over the edge, but
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't play defense at all, and that was
and
certainly
that too.
that was a feature of Harden's game when Harden was in his prime. You brought up John Collins and the Hawks, like between him, DeAndre Hunter, it just they have like these combo wings that
Deontay Murray.
yeah, and Deontay Murray, well, he's more of a shooting guard, or he's more of a point guard. Like I don't see, I thought him and Trae Young was a bad fit from the start, from the jump, and I was never bought into that
No, that move,
combination there.
I agree with you completely. And that move felt a lot like, especially with John Collins, like asking out in the offseason, like it felt like that's where that move was going to come in. And like he could potentially be the piece going the other way. But at the same time, to your point, like
Spurs probably
Deontay,
didn't want him. He would
yeah,
have
he would
affected the
have
tanking
messed up
chances.
those tanking chances there. But yeah, Deontay Murray, it just felt like that was the best player that they could have gotten. And he's not the best fit, as you pointed out. But yeah, like I don't even see them really I can't see them making any noise whatsoever. And I think the experience of the Heat gets them through this game.
Right. And so you brought up the Heat's experience, and I think the Heat have just such a deficit of talent, and it just feels like the Heat have been kind of wandering the wilderness attempting to get this next superstar for Pat Riley. And he just hasn't been able to close the deal on, that big piece that's better than Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Now, I think that he will ultimately lose to the Celtics, but the Celtics, and we're going to talk about this later, they've proven too many times that they're not the mentally toughest team. And so I could feel the Heat will still make it a dogfight, and they'll find a way to maybe win, 2 games or even push it to 6 or 7.
I could see that because like we said, the Heat do have that like veteran presence on their roster, and they do have like a dearth, like or not a dearth, like they have just a litany of depth, like just so many options that they could really throw at you. But I think the Celtics high end talent at this time, like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, even to a degree, like having guys like Rob Williams, you can anchor the defense with, and Malcolm Brogdon, like another sweet player, just like in the
Probably should
rotation.
win
Like,
6 man of the year.
yeah, fantastic, fantastic player. Like, I just think the Celtics are too much for them. And the Heat, to your point, Alex, like them, much like the Raptors, I'd love to see what they do this offseason because they feel like they're one of those teams that's always in the cut. Like, if a superstar becomes available, they're always in the mix for them. And personally, like, I think Pat Riley's just very, very close to getting one of these guys done. And I mean, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, to your point, maybe they take a game or two off the Celtics. I personally think they can take one game off the Celtics. And I think that's the end of their season right there.
And so then, John, real quick, I'll ask you: so the Hawks fall down and fall out, and they're playing the Raptors for the right to make the playoffs. Do your Raptors get the job done and get slaughtered by the Bucks, or the Hawks back into the playoffs?
No, I think the Raptors get the Raptors are a weird one because they have games kind of like you said against the Celtics where they just totally mail it in. And I think part of that has to do with the looming Nick Nurse situation. Not that Nick Nurse is a bad coach by any stretch, but when you know your coach is going to leave at the end of the offseason, it can either do a last dance type thing or it can kind of do a why the fuck is this guy giving us orders kind of thing. And it's sort of straying towards the latter. But I think that the Hawks' dysfunction outweighs the Raptors right now. And the Raptors, despite all of their struggles, like the chemistry on offense, the stuff going on with the coaching staff, this is still a defensive juggernaut of a team. And I think the Hawks will not be able to contend with that. But to your point, the Bucks is a whole different story, and I think the Bucks beat the Raptors in like 4 games.
I think that's fairly reasonable. We'll take a spin around the rest of the Eastern Conference after a quick break here on GNASS, but don't flinch and don't move an inch because more hoop talk coming right back. And we're back with the GNASS NBA playoff preview. John, where we left off, we're going to take a spin around the Eastern Conference teams that have locked up their seed and they're don't have to trifle with the LeBron James Invitational play-in.
No debate for these guys.
Yes. Starting with the Nets in a 3-6 matchup, they're going to be taking on Philadelphia. Nets really haven't been maybe mediocre at best since they traded Durant. Totally drawing a blank on the former Phoenix shooting guard, Mikal Bridges. Thank you. He's been probably the lone bright spot for this team, but it just seems like they're waiting to get to the draft and their unprotected pick.
Yeah, it really this feels like an oversimplification because they are a playoff team, but at the same time, they're a playoff team that traded their 3 best players inside the last 18 months. They're 19 and 23 without Kevin Durant this season. I view this team as a complete non-factor. To your point, like,
are you saying Ben Simmons isn't going to step up and get this team over the hump in the playoffs?
I'm saying that they stand about as good of a chance as he does at making a playoff 3-pointer.
That's not good.
Exactly, man. I don't think he could make a regular season one. So, but yeah, this team is just they're a non-factor. I personally think this is going to be one of the teams that's closer to the basement next season. And I just want to say, Brooklyn management, I hate you for doing this at the fucking trade deadline because you were my surprise tank pick at the beginning of the year and you fucked me.
Yep, just did a little bit too late.
You did it like 3 months too late, man. But Alex, what about you? Do you have any possibility that the Brooklyn Nets do anything at all?
No, I think the way Embiid played against the Celtics last Tuesday in that national TNT game, pushing 50 points, and the Sixers were still alive for pushing the Celtics into maybe jumping the Celtics and getting that 2 seed. So, and then granted, Jokic, 2-time winner, you're still handicapping the voting field. We always talk about that with the postseason awards. So,
by the way, Alex, it's scoring champion Joel Embiid as of today. Officially won the scoring title by 0.2 points per game over Luka Doncic, because even though there's one more game to play, Luka cannot get higher, I think, than 34, or I think it's 34.6 points a game, and Embiid's at like 36 or something like that. So,
right. So Embiid won the scoring champ. I think he probably right now should be the odds-on favorite to win MVP. Even though Jokic still has a really good chance, like a really good he has a really good claim to that as well. But I digress. I think the Sixers are going to take the Nets to the woodshed. I mean, I'd be shocked if this goes 6 games.
I was gonna say, if this, I have like just looking at this like high level, this looks like it's gonna be one of those old school like 1 versus 8 matchups, even though it's a 3-6, where the higher seed just, to your point, not just takes them on the woodshed. It's like this is gonna be a quick 4 games. Alex, let's move to the next next matchup / team. It would be the Knicks and the Cavs. Then let's start with the Knicks at the 5 seed. Alex, how you feeling about the New York Knickerbockers and their rejuvenation led by Jalen Brunson?
So I like the Knicks in this series, just given that Thibodeau has been there and done that. Randall has been there and done that. I think the Cavs are an interesting team going forward, but there's no win depth there. And if the Cavs are going to win the series, Donovan Mitchell's going to have to, look like he's the league MVP in this series. And I'm not sure the Cavs are ready to do that just yet. but they're going to be an exciting team to watch going forward. But I think that I give the Knicks a slight edge here, and I think this could be be a 7-game series, a real dogfight. But I like the Knicks to take. I like the Knicks to get the job done. Yeah.
I like this series too to be, I think, the most entertaining of all the Eastern Conference series once we have 1-8 settled. To your point, like that was the first thing I thought when I looked at Cleveland. Are they really going to have the wing depth to compete not just with the monsters of the East, but like the contenders in the NBA? I mean, this is a team that, Alex, they're led by two of your favorite types of players,
Yeah,
combo
undersized
guards.
combo guards.
So yeah, and those guys tend to have a bit of a, not that they can't win, but a bit more of a difficult track record. And I think the Knicks, led by Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, like we've seen Brunson step up in these situations before, and Julius Randle in particular, I think is one of the more underrated wings in the NBA. I don't think
He's
he's a
he's more of like a true power forward,
exactly.
and I think the Cavs would probably struggle with that.
Exactly. And but it's just the fact that he's in that like 6'7" to 6'9" range, super athletic, like he can guard multiple positions. Like he's not an elite player, but he's the exact kind of player that the Cavs have no direct matchup for. And that's where I think they're really going to struggle in this series. And to your point, like Mitchell could even play like an MVP, but if they have, but I like Jalen Brunson answering Mitchell and Garland better than I like whatever the Cavs are going to throw at Julius Randle. And that's where I'm at this series. And same thing, like
Right, and
even
then
if
we're
you,
completely forgetting RJ Barrett, and
that's what I was about to
we've been
say.
waiting for him to take that next step, and maybe this is a chance for him to really showcase that he is should be considered a top flight NBA shooting guard.
You stealing my Canadian content.
I know.
But I was like literally just about to say that too. Is RJ Barrett's still only 22, and even him, he's in that like range of like that should give the Cavs a bit of a tough time. And I don't know, maybe Karis LeVert plays out of his mind, but I'm not seeing that. I mean, at least now.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you, and well, maybe Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell's done it before, and that would be the only. I think that's the Cavs. It's not really an X factor, but how Mitchell goes will go the Cavs. I think that's I think a fair way to characterize this series.
Definitely. Alex, let's move up the board. We got the 76ers next, led by the aforementioned scoring champion, Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, kind of same thing when we were talking about the Nets. I just think that they're going to cruise and they're going to get by the Nets, but they'll lose in the second round like they always do. I am not, as a Celtics fan, I am not scared of these rats from Philadelphia. They're like, they do not have the talent to compete with the Celtics.
Does it make you feel better, especially because
I
Doc
feel
Rivers
more
is the
scared
coach?
against the Miami Heat than I do against the Philadelphia 76ers. I'll put it that way.
Does beating them though, like the Sixers, does it make you feel better knowing that Doc Rivers is their coach?
Yeah, because Doc Rivers he didn't have the patience to deal with a rebuild, and he went out. He's like, oh yeah, let me hitch my wagon to Chris Paul. This is definitely this is what I need to get back into being a championship level coach. Hitching my wagon to Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. Yeah, I'll see how that worked out.
Look, I know Joel Embiid too. He's the centerpiece of the Sixers team, and he likely should be the odds-on favorite for the MVP. But do you really think like the Sixers can win a championship with James Harden as one of the two main pieces on this roster?
No, you need a guy better than him.
It's not even better than him, dude. I think it's the attitude.
I mean, imagine if the Sixers kept Jimmy Butler and not Tobias Harris. Like then they, then they'd be on to something. But they didn't.
Jimmy Butler, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. You'd have something cooking right there. But yeah, me personally, like something's off about that team just with like surrounding James Harden and Joel Embiid. But I do think they make quick work of the Nets, to your point. It's weird. It's unfortunate though the second round exits becoming a norm in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, that's that is their ceiling. That's their breaking through that. That's like that'd be like the Maple Leafs winning a first round series.
Hey, we'll get to that next show. Alex, keep in mind though, we did have another Toronto team that was stuck in that same limbo as the Sixers currently are, and what it took was trading everyone's favorite player. So that's what got us over the hump. But Alex, we'll move on to one that's near and dear to your hearts. Number 2 in the East, your Boston Celtics. So Alex, give us the cliff notes of why we should not believe in the Boston Celtics.
And it pains me to say it. Like, I don't trust them. I can't trust. I'm just like the disappointed father with this basketball team. Like, this is the most talented basketball team in the NBA. That said, they're not mentally tough. And whether it's Marcus Smart, whether it's Marcus Smart taking bad shots in crunch time and doing the hero ball thing, Jason Tatum not rising to the occasion when he otherwise should in the NBA Finals. You start 25-5 to start the season. You're running away with the Eastern Conference. Then you start acting like you've actually won something, and you let the Bucks right back into it. You cough up the 1 seed. Now you better not lose Game 7 in Milwaukee, for crying out loud. That all said, if Chris Middleton's knee isn't right, then I don't think any of this matters. The Celtics probably should go back to the NBA Finals, and that's kind of just where I am with this team. If the Bucks are not 100% and Chris Middleton is playing at some diminished level, I don't think it matters. That's how talented they are.
Nice, because I was gonna say Chris Middleton is at a technically diminished level right now, not really playing basketball. But Alex, other than what you just mentioned, which is Chris Middleton's injury, why should we believe in the Celtics?
Talent. They are the most talented team. Their one gaping weakness in the NBA Finals was there was no Derek White. Like, he was a good pickup, but the continuity wasn't there after the trade deadline, and it was kind of fits and starts with him. That said, you could argue Derek White's been the third best player on this team this season, and to go out and fill their one need with a guy who can create offense off the dribble, and that was Malcolm Brogdon. You bring him in, and then if Rob Williams, it has is a walking knee sprain. If that happens, then who knows? They've shown that they can't get past it if Rob Williams isn't as close to 100% as possible, and what that is anymore, I don't know. So you're believing it if you're betting on the Celtics right now, you're betting that their talent just ultimately wins out.
There you go, folks. I agree with you completely, though. I think the Celtics are a fantastic team. I think they're deep. I think they have all the tools when healthy. And one thing, Alex, that you could also get a boost from, I know that you were very, very hyped preseason. Danilo Gallinari is actually practicing.
I don't
But
think
I don't think he's gonna play.
I'm not counting on him at all. I was pumped to pick him up for sure.
I know. I was gonna say don't get me wrong. I don't think he's gonna play, especially given the fact that the team has so much talent. They should not need to just pull a player back from that serious of an injury like this last minute. But I mean, we've seen it in other sports where sometimes you got to dig down the well and you throw out some not mystifying, but you're pulling every trick out of the bag. So you might see him at least make an appearance, but I mean, I thought I'd just mention it because I know you're pumped.
Yeah, I mean, a torn ACL, you tore that in August, so you're looking at 10 months for an ACL. Best case scenario would be back by conference finals, NBA finals.
No, it'd be like he comes off the bench to take a shot here or there. It's that if at all. And like I was saying, like he's 6'10". It's more just the added
to account for
boost.
him. Yeah,
exactly. And not just that added motivational boost from like the roster's perspective too.
Right, and there was, not to go down the Danilo Gallinari hole, but there was some fear, I think, by guys on that roster that Brad Stevens might pull a Danny Ainge and just ship out Gallinari's contract in some trade, and like they saw how hard he was working to get back in, and potentially try to play, and so I think it was a good morale thing that they didn't ship him out. So last but not least, John, the team that jumped my Celtics, and that's the Bucks. Ooh. The Bucks were my pick to win it all at the start of this season, and who knows, I might be so down on the Celtics had Chris Middleton been playing healthy and the Bucks win that second round series last year. But here we are. We're talking about Chris Middleton's knee again. Is that what's going to hold this team back if he's not right?
That's honestly the way I see this, man. Like, this Bucks team is so good. And if you just look up and down their roster, whether it's load management, whether it's injuries, this team hasn't made it through the full 82 games in one piece. And that is very, very concerning if you're a Bucks fan. Alex, you just talked about how the Celtics are the most talented team in the NBA. in order to beat a team that has a greater depth of talent than you do, you need your full arsenal at its disposal. And right now, the Bucks are beginning the playoffs shorthanded. As to your point, Chris Middleton's out. Even Giannis is said to be nursing an injury, though I think that one might be a bit more load management.
Yeah, I agree.
And but yeah, to that, regardless though, if he is not 100% and Chris Middleton's not 100%, they're going to have a tough time dealing with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, basically everything the Celtics can throw at them. Because the reality of the Eastern Conference is we're just waiting for the two teams in green to play at the end of the finish line. And it's about staying healthy until those two teams play. And I think as long as the Celtics and the Bucks play or stay healthy, that's who's going to end up in the Eastern Conference final. And the thing is, that's the thing though. I just don't think the Bucks can stay healthy, man. Like it's they've barely
Right, like
been
imagine someone
healthy.
like Brook Lopez goes down. Like I don't
Exactly.
think I mean the same thing with the Celtics. Like right, I don't think Al Horford's going to be enough in the front court to get this team through the playoffs if Rob Williams goes down.
No, exactly. You could say that about any big piece, but at the same time, there's a certain degree of like look at their track records, and with the Bucks, it just has not been good the last two seasons, one from a health perspective, and that's my one reserve with this team and why I think the Celtics have the edge here. What about you, Alex?
So I guess we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to our finals picks. But if Chris Middleton's, let's say he's 80%, I think that, and the Bucks, if they don't respond after the Celtics went into, granted, the second night of a back-to-back, and I think the Bucks kind of just let it wash over them in the second half. But the Celtics dropped their pants at home and in Milwaukee. If that, as a competitor, like if that doesn't get them in the right mindset to play the Celtics, then the Celtics, that means the Celtics have gotten their swerve on and they're very dangerous.
There you go. Alex, that wraps up our, well, not wraps up, but that is the Eastern Conference. Let's take a quick break and then we'll jump out west. And we're back. Alex, we are back and it is the Western Conference. This is going to be a bit of a weird one because technically everyone is still, well, every single spot from 9 to 5 is still up for grabs. So there's a number of combinations that
There's
are
a
going to
lot of
force.
fluidity here.
Yeah, exactly. We are
But we're
going to
recording a show today, John, damn it. And we're going to go with the order on the board.
just for ease of everyone at home. Alex, let's start with number 10, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the team that I have dubbed how to fail and succeed at the exact same time.
Right, and that they lost a big piece of their puzzle that at least they were counting on to play some minutes, and Chet Holmgren, even before the season started. So this is a testament to, I think you can make an argument that Sam Press is the best GM in the sport, and I don't know if it's close. Given you have two of the best players this century, maybe even three with James Harden, really. You have three of those guys ultimately leave your team. And you've come back and you've put this team together with a lot of guys who play hard, a budding superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
and
and
a near walking triple double in Josh Giddey.
Yeah, a walking triple double, and you nailed that pick. An Australian kid. I think by the time the draft rolled around, I think a lot of NBA teams were sold on his talent, but no sure bet by any stretch. Given the Dante Exum experiment, in this league.
That was an unfortunate one though, just
right. He had a lot of injuries.
But we'll move past it.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. So, the Aussie guys, those are no sure bets. And then just still have this complete war chest of assets. I think one is still going to be a lottery pick this year because it's from someone else. And you're in the playoffs, or
they got a lot of people's picks that are not
in a
theirs.
position. So, and this team plays hard. They're not the most talented team by any stretch, but they play hard, and I wouldn't be shocked if they knock off the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, we kind of laughed at them to start this season, but I think getting D'Angelo Russell out of town was a kind of addition by subtraction. Mike Conley.
They still made the world's worst trade with Rudy Gobert, but
absolutely, yeah.
But at the same time, you got to give him credit for making
the at least righting the ship.
Exactly, and yeah, to your point about OKC, I think they're gonna play this hard, but like I said, everything for OKC right now is gravy, man. Just be happy you're here. That's it.
No, yeah, definitely no. Yeah, like some good. Yeah, well, they gotta get in to get some of that playoff gate because they're playing these on the road. But I think I like the Thunder's depth more than I like the Timberwolves depth. I think that's for sure. And I guess it's just a matter of can Karl Anthony and Towns go out there, drop 50, and Mike Conley plays a clean game. And but yeah, hell, give me the Thunder. I'd be tempted to take Thunder in this game.
I have a hard time picking the Thunder in this one just because like I said, I think it's all gravy for the Thunder. I think the T Wolves are not a great team, but I think Anthony Edwards and Cat can do enough just to beat the Thunder in a short term scenario. Because keep in mind, it's
Pelicans,
not.
I think the Pelicans they play hard defensively, and I think the Pelicans they can make it hard, and a team like the Thunder might not be ready for that level of intensity. So I don't think I think the Timberwolves, just based on how their roster is constructed, if you're hitting from the if you're hitting your threes, it makes it really hard for them to keep Rudy Gobert on the floor.
100%. Alex, let's move on. You mentioned it just there, the Pelicans. So the Pelicans at one point, number 1 in the West this year, fell to number 8. How you feeling about the Pelicans and the big question mark that is, will Zion Williamson make it through the playoff run?
I mean, I think they've already ruled him out for the play-in, so they'd actually have to get into the playoffs.
They gotta make it to
Zion Williamson. It was the number one concern coming in. He looked like old Larry Johnson, not like long after Grandmama died. Larry Johnson on the Knicks, who couldn't see, had all these back problems. And I think we're seeing that kind of come to roost here with Zion. He doesn't seem like he takes his physical conditioning as as seriously as he probably should, given his body type. The Lakers I think the two LA teams are the two most dangerous teams in the Western Conference playoffs. It's just that no team in the NBA has taken, since that blown that missed foul call on LeBron James in that Celtics Lakers game when he was like crying and rolling around on the floor like a 5-year-old. No team in the NBA has taken more free throws than the Los Angeles Lakers. We know the NBA in playoff series involving the Lakers, sometimes the referees like to award the Lakers with a massive free throw discrepancy.
I don't think that's the Lakers getting a free throw discrepancy, Alex. I think that's a superstar getting their calls, because the Lakers tend to have.
I'm just saying, after LeBron James had that total conniption, by coincidence, the Lakers have taken the most free throws in the sport since.
That's what you got to do when you're a superstar. You bitch and moan to get what you want. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I'm just saying, the league has done this before with the Lakers. So would it shock anyone? The Lakers go on a long postseason run? It probably shouldn't. Again, the Westbrook trade was huge, and getting Beverly out of town, that was again a huge addition by subtraction. And you bring in a legit third piece in D'Angelo Russell. So, I think the Lakers are dangerous, and so I think the Lakers, if they're in the play-in, they're gonna cruise through it.
I'm shocked that the Lakers are in the play-in, and I think that by the time that we post this podcast, it's entirely possible if they're no longer in the podcast. But
they're like 18-point favorites tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're no longer in the play-in, and it's possible like the Clip or the Warriors could potentially have taken their spot. But I think the Lakers, to your point, like I think they're going to smash this play-in tournament. I think they're getting in no matter what. And to that point, I really like their chances as a 7 seed to beat the 2 seed, whoever that is, when the standings ultimately settle.
Oh yeah, they need to go by the Grizzlies.
I was going to say it should be the Grizzlies, but yeah, I really like what the Lakers did, specifically with the litany of trades, getting Malik Beasley, to your point, like getting D'Angelo Russell. Just it wasn't just addition by subtraction. Another one, by the way, Jared Vanderbilt, just another depth piece that you can throw at people. Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, good combo forward.
It's just all these pieces that they got. It's not just the depth and the talent they got. It's the fact that like starting year 2 and 10, it was very clear like something was wrong in that locker room with Pat Beverly and Russell Westbrook. So just kind of getting that dark cloud away from the roster. Like we've seen just kind of like them right.
Well, that's why they played Pat Beverly, Westbrook, and what's his face all at the same time.
I know, but like it's just like not good, but it's they've righted the ship and they're now back into contention. Alex, let's go to the other side of Los Angeles, the LA Clippers. So the LA Clippers, Alex, are big fans of, as you know, Kawhi's favorite thing, load management. That might be why they are a little bit lower in the standings this year as Kawhi is rehabbing his knee coming back. But do you think they've surrounded PG-13 and Kawhi with enough pieces? Because, I mean, we've seen them get a little bit desperate bringing players in this season.
So, I say all the time, guards don't win. You win from the wing position, and the Clippers right there with the Celtics have, arguably the two best wings in the game playing together. That said, I think it's always a question of continuity with this team. If Kawhi Leonard's going to play less than half the games or about half the games, have they built up enough cohesion over the course of a long season? And if Kawhi Leonard's going to play like he did in that duel against the Lakers, then this is, I think this team's even more dangerous than the Lakers, you could argue, in the Western Conference. So, and they're playing the Kings. Maybe the Kings, they're just happy to be here. I think I like the Clippers' star power more than I like the Kings' star power. So would it shock me for the Clippers to upset the Kings? Absolutely not.
I like the Clippers too. I like the Clippers a lot. Also, it provided, of course, health. Like I think this is going to be another one of those teams similar to the Bucks where they're almost entirely dependent on who dresses that given night, because we don't know, for example, if Kawhi is going to make it through the entire playoffs. Like it's not just that he's a big fan of load management. He traditionally, like, he's had like tons of knee problems. He's coming off of major knee surgery despite being the killer that he is and putting up numbers still. But to your point, I love the wing depth on this team. I love that besides just Kawhi and PG-13, they have one of the Morris. I think it's Marcus Morris. Excuse me.
Yeah, Marcus.
They have Norman Powell. They have like even Russell Westbrook if he's willing to commit to a degree. Like they have more guys in that range they can throw.
Yeah, they
you
made it
you
work
have,
with Westbrook more than anyone else in the last couple of
exactly
years.
like they found a way that even if you don't think they have this and that, they found a way to make it work around that. And to your point, like I think they have the like any matchup that they're going to come up against right now, with the exception of maybe Denver, and Denver, the talent level isn't as high. Like they have more depth of wings, and I think that that's going to, like to your point, that's going to swing everything in their favor, especially against a team like the Kings. Alex, let's move to the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. Now, Alex, the Warriors have been a little bit shorthanded all year. They're still actually without Andrew Wiggins, despite the fact that he's
Yeah, he was supposed to be coming back, I thought.
he's he's not like away. He's like around the team. He's just not playing. But we're seeing them back. How you feeling about the Warriors? No Andrew Wiggins, punted on the rim protector. How you feeling?
Yeah, and then you ship out Wiseman as well. So it just feels like this Warriors team, start the season, Draymond Green punching your arguably third best offensive player in the face in practice. This feels like Shaq, Kobe, and the Super Lakers, where, yeah, they found a way. Derek Fisher bailed them out against the Spurs, and what was that? The conference finals when they were at risk of going down 3-0. They find a way to like. And I'm not saying this team is going to go to the NBA Finals, but the Super Lakers, they found a way of going there. But then they just got bounced by a much, much hungrier Pistons team. And I think someone in the West will be that Pistons team that is just like, nope, this is our chance. This is our chance. We're going to make a statement to the Warriors. It's been their conference for too long. Like, let's punch them in the mouth. And they're right now, they play the Suns in the first round. And I think this is a chance for Kevin Durant to stick it to everyone in Golden State that said, oh, you just came here to win a ring. So you got to figure Kevin Durant's to be very, very motivated against the Warriors.
Yep. And to that point, you're also already hearing like Klay Thompson came out, I think, the other day, and he's like, no one can beat us if we're healthy. So you already kind of feel those shreds of doubt coming into the Warriors' mind. So this isn't the juggernauts of old. And like to your point, like, and I mentioned it, like punting on the rim protector, like not trading for any size, getting rid of James Wiseman at the deadline. Like these are moves that could come back to bite you based on who you're even scheduled to play in the first round. And Alex, let's move on to who they're slated to play in the first round. The Phoenix Suns. I mean, to me, Alex, the Phoenix Suns are the best team on paper, and this should be realistically the favorite to win the West. Just looking at their roster top to bottom, not their record.
Yeah, and conversely, I think what could work in the Warriors' favor is still the Chris Paul thing. Chris Paul's a choky player. He's always been a choky player. Except for that, maybe that one year where he couldn't play that game 7 in Houston because he pulled his ham.
Wow.
He tweaked his hamstring.
Wow. That's deep.
Um,
That's low.
yep. No, I thought the Rockets had a chance to maybe beat the Warriors that year. That would have been the one year.
They definitely did, but I think he had at least one more chance than that.
Other than that, and like the Chris Paul experience in the NBA Finals. It wasn't that long ago. The Suns really had control of that series. I agree with you. I think the Suns are the best team on paper, and I think they should run through the Western Conference. My question is, I don't know if the Chris Paul thing, I don't know if that's rubbed off on Devin Booker too a little bit. And if that has happened, is Kevin Durant going to be the most mentally tough player that's going to have them run through that wall? I wouldn't count on it. And then there's the DeAndre Ayton matter. He's pouting. He's been bumped down to 4th in the pecking order on the Suns.
He was pouting. He was pouting before the year, man.
It's like, I know, but like, we got why? Like, what's wrong with being a 2010 guy? Like every night, just like, I'm gonna go out and maybe 2010. Like, that's what DeAndre Ayton should be. But for some reason, it doesn't seem like he gives the effort required to do that every night. Like, there's some nights he's only pulling down like 3-4 rebounds.
It's for me, when I watch DeAndre Ayton, it feels like he wants to be one of those guys that's like the focal point on offense, but the fact of the matter is the game just isn't there anymore. And if you want to be that classic big man where you really have to contribute and make your identity known on the team is on the defensive end.
Oh yeah, you need to be like, every rebound is mine.
Exactly, and that's where he struggles. and like but to that point, he has the talent to do all these things. And when you look at the Suns top to bottom, like even Devin Booker is one of the most talented wings with the highest ceilings in the NBA. He hasn't quite taken that step, but we've seen it in so many facets, like the different things he can do, the shooting range. I mean, he's not the greatest defensive player, but like offensively, like everything he can do is it's just so much fun to watch. And you pair it with Kevin Durant now, and yeah, I really think this should be the favorite on paper. But to your point, it's just between like the things like DeAndre Ayton and like, Chris Paul's history, and something feels a little bit off, but I think they should be the representative to win the Western Conference. I mean, just given the amount of talent they have, it's the same argument as the Celtics. The talent should get them through, but I mean, mentality with some of the players on the roster is what comes into question here.
You're a much greater believer in Chris Paul than I am. Moving right along to the Kings, John. They're probably the biggest question mark. We talk about the most dangerous teams. I think the Kings, we could probably say the biggest question mark here. Yes, they had an amazing season to finally, break the longest existing playoff drought in the 4 big sports here. But what are they going to do when everybody's now playing hard on defense? Can they keep this pace up? And is their defense strong enough for when, a team punches back and kind of starts to rip off a run? Can they flip that momentum, in the pressure of a playoff game? And I'm not sold on that yet.
Neither am I. And that was the first thing that came to mind when I was looking at this roster is teams are going to play them harder on defense. The whistles are going to start going away. Like, I mean, not that they're going to like completely go away, but they're going to call less things. That's the kind of game that the Kings don't want to play. Like, the Kings want to track meet. They want to run up the score. They want to go end to end. And a lot of the playoff games aren't like that. Like, it's a grind, and you have to be able to battle and you have to be able to get through. And I mean, don't get me wrong, this year is a great success for the Kings, but I ironically put this team in the same category as OKC. I put this in, look, just be happy that you're here. Just take all the experience that you can. Like, just kind of take it in, breathe it in, play some, like, right now you're slated to play guys with championship experience, like Kawhi Leonard, like Norman Powell, like guys who you can find out what the measuring stick is. Like, if you beat them, that's even better. But this is more their first taste of this action.
I think for the Kings to advance, I think if they draw someone like the Lakers, Clippers, and then on it, like if I were the Kings, I'd probably put it to you this way: I'd rather play the Warriors than the Lakers or Clippers, and I hope that the Warriors would get that 6th seed before the Lakers or Clippers do. I just think that there's too much polish with those two LA teams
Between
for the Kings.
the 5 to 9 seed, the 5 to 9 right now. So Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Pelicans, T Wolves are the 5 seeds up for debate. If I'm the Kings, the only two I can beat are the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. Like I can't beat any of those other teams in a 7 game series.
I mean, the Kings and Warriors would be an interesting series because I don't think either of those teams wants to play defense. And if the
No, not at
Warriors
all.
and maybe the Kings get up 2-1, and if Draymond's I think there's a lot of things could go wrong. I think it could snowball for the Warriors, and that's why I give the Kings a puncher's chance against the Warriors. I'm not going to bet them to beat the Warriors by any stretch. I do not have that temerity, but I think they would make life difficult for the Warriors at the very least.
No,
I think
that's totally fair given the athleticism on the roster and like the way they like to play. And also even having a little warrior in your back pocket too with Harrison Barnes.
exactly. So a little motivation for him. John, I think before this season started, when we look at the number 2 seed right now, that's the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the NBA intelligentsia would have suggested that this was the Grizzlies' year to finally push through. And whether it's the Jaren Jackson, struggling to stay on the court, or all the off-court issues that John Morant found himself involved with, it seemed like the Grizzlies just never took the full. They had a good season, but they never took the initiative to say like, "Yep, this is definitely the best team in the Western Conference."
No, 100%. And I mean, one of the truly like feel good stories watching this team has been the evolution of Desmond Bane and just watching him step up and kind of really become with Ja Morant when he's been there, like arguably the best backcourt in the NBA. But to your point, like this team feels like there's still that another step that they could take. And personally, like I love the Grizzlies. I think that they could be a team that makes a very, very deep run. And I love the wing depth because like when you look at this team, like Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, like the three of them are going to base any lineup. But then you look at a guy like Dylan Brooks, Luke Kennard, like even Brandon Clark going down the roster. Like these are like just
Well,
lots of
Clark's
wing
out with an
players.
Achilles. He's
That's actually true. Well, they have
yeah,
Aldama. At least they have Aldama now. But
yeah.
uh,
He's like a stretch four center.
exactly.
Yeah, not
But
exactly a
just
wing.
like more guys that they can throw in that like 6'7" to 6'10" range that they can guard. And I really like what they can do, but yeah, to that point, they haven't taken that official step, but the talent has gotten them to the 2 seed, Alex. I love John Morant too, as well, when he's on the court and playing basketball. So, despite the fact that they might be a little bit short in terms of the depth, I do like what they can do, and I like the Grizz a lot. And I
Right,
think,
but I think if the Lakers finish, if the Lakers end up at 7, that's a tough draw for the Grizzlies.
no, 100%. I have a feeling the Lakers are going to be a bit higher than that, but I agree with you completely. It's part of it depends on the draw here with the variability of 5 through 9, but yeah, I like the Grizz actually to go quite far in this playoffs.
See, I like the Nuggets more than the Grizzlies because my problem with the Grizzlies, and I'll stay consistent here, is I like Desmond Bane, but to me they need a wing who's better than Desmond Bane if they really want to take that next step. And that guy just hasn't emerged on this team yet. And I don't know. I don't think he's on that roster. Maybe like Zaire Williams, but he's still very, very green. And at least for me, if I was going to say, yep, this team is, I think, a threat to make the NBA Finals, I would need to see that elite wing play that I just don't think is there yet.
That's totally fair. And like I said, it's the one place that they kind of like they're not the deepest there, but they do have players that can fill in like solid ones like Brooks and Kennard. So I do like I said, like what they can throw out, especially at the end of
Nar's
the
just a
game with
shooter.
what's up.
Nar's just a shooter. He's like
Yeah,
a
I know, but still, it's like
he's a store brand Desmond Bane.
that's fine, man. It's bodies you need to throw at people, man. It's bodies that you need to throw because you got to remember there are teams like the Cavs that don't have the bodies. Period.
True.
Alex, let's move on to the last team in the West, the Denver Nuggets, the reigning number 1 seed, obviously led by two-time MVP Nikola Jokic. The team is finally healthy. They got Jamal Murray, they got Michael Porter Jr. back. They finally look like they have a dearth of wings to complement Nikola Jokic. I mean, how are you feeling about the Nuggets these days?
It just seems like even when the Nuggets, that one Carmelo Anthony year, they went to the Western Conference Finals. This team's never broken through and played in the NBA Finals, and I just think that they're going to find a way to not go again.
I
Um,
I I have a weird feeling about this team that they're one of those teams that, despite the fact they've done a great job scouting and acquiring talent, I feel like they're betting on guys who we already know have health problems and probably will not make it through the entirety of a playoff run. So then the question becomes, do you have enough to win a 7 game series if, say, a Jamal Murray isn't going to make it through?
right. I think
And
I bet on him to make it more before I bet on Michael Porter Jr.
I was just
and
using Jamal Murray as like because the
sure,
name,
sure.
but Michael Porter would probably be the more likely one. But either way, the point being is, I think they're gonna run into a team like whether it's the Suns, maybe one of the LA teams, and that's the team that's gonna hurt them because it's gonna be a team that forces them to draw that question late in the game with Jokic.
And I think LeBron kind of ran into the same problem that Jokic has run into, that they are so singularly great, and so much of how the team revolves around how well they play, that yes, Jokic can play at an MVP level and he's going to get the team to a certain threshold, second round, conference finals. But unless you have the exact perfect mix to put around him, you're always going to fall short. Like LeBron with the Cavs for all those years. The Heat, before they got Ray Allen, they needed that like one last shooter to complete the puzzle. LeBron against the Warriors, so the second tour of duty in Cleveland, they just didn't have the same firepower that the Warriors did. And so, yes, the Cavs were better than everybody in the East, and LeBron was going to take them back to the finals, but they didn't have enough to beat a team that was better than them.
It
And
also
I think that's I think that's the conundrum the Nuggets find themselves in. And I don't know what the answer is to putting the right personnel around them, because I thought they did have the right personnel around him.
it's tough. It feels almost like they're one of those teams that's like to your point about like chemistry, like it's not an issue of talent, it's an issue of specifically the names in the locker room. And it's like maybe if you even just trade one of them for a guy who's equal talent but does a couple things differently, it's like maybe that's what gets them over the hump. But just something off there with that mix of players and the fact that too, as well as like the health concerns around a lot of players on their team, like I'm very worried that despite the fact they have the talent to make it through the West, like I don't think they will. I really don't think they do. Like I think they're gonna stomp whoever comes out in the 8 seed, but I also don't think they're gonna make it much for like I think their ceiling is the conference final. That's how
Me
I would
too.
put it. Yeah, that's how I put it. Like I don't think they have an NBA finals in this roster.
But that theoretically, if this seeding holds, that would mean they went through the Suns to get to the NBA Finals. And so I think if they do get through the Suns and they're not playing the Warriors or Lakers, just because I think if the Warriors get there, that means they're a problem. If the Lakers get there, that means they're a problem. If they're not playing either of those two teams, that means they got by the Suns. And then I think they should be that much better than whoever they'd end up playing, if that makes sense.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And it's just yeah, like a matchup like the Suns though, like that's the kind of matchup like I see the Suns taking advantage of the fact that like it you're look like can Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. take out Kevin Durant? No. And like that's where I see them running into issues there. Alex, we've jumped through the entire Eastern Conference. We've jumped through the entire Western Conference. So now it's time to make our way too early NBA Finals prediction, my friend. So
So I think I waffled on this once in the middle of the season, and I'm back just because I don't trust the Celtics. I do not trust the Celtics, and I'd like to think that the Bucks are good enough to manage Chris Middleton's injury so he's as close to a full go as possible. Therefore, I do not like the way the Celtics carry on like they fucking won something. Pardon my French, but they carry themselves as a team that has played in multiple NBA finals, won at least one of them.
see, and now you understand all my struggles with the Maple Leafs because this team hasn't won a fucking round.
The Bucks have done that, And I think the Bucks are chafing the way the Celtics came in there and dropped their trousers the last time they played. So I like the Bucks I think we've been waiting for these. I mean, arguably, the Celtics and Bucks have been the two best teams in the NBA. We've been waiting for them to. We're still waiting for them to collide in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Bucks, they win that series in 7 games because the Celtics they're, given how not mentally tough they've proven themselves. I think the Celtics find a way to lose that game 7 in Milwaukee because that would be exactly what they deserve. So Bucks go to the NBA Finals, and I like them to beat the Suns because I'm not a believer in Chris Paul, and I just, there's a chokiness there, and I think the Suns, they'll find a way to get there, but I just don't. I think I like the Bucks continuity, and I think if the Bucks get there, that means that they're ready to take it. So yeah, give me the Bucks 4 in 6 games.
Very, very
How about
nice,
you,
my
John?
friend.
What say you?
I have flip-flopped back and forth on this one. Actually, not since the beginning of the season, since we were going through like our playoff predictions here. And I had a really tough time with this one. And I think personally, I'm going to bet on talent this time. And oftentimes this doesn't get it through because obviously there's intangibles that each sport measures. I'm going to go with the Suns and the Celtics in the NBA Finals. I think this is a 7-game series. I originally had the Suns winning this, but I actually think your Boston Celtics will come out on top, my friend. And that is just my early preliminary feeling, just given the depth Celtics have and the team that they pulled together. So I have the Celtics beating the Suns in 7 games for my NBA Finals.
I'll take the ban. I'll gladly take the banner, John. But it's gonna be
I didn't say there
gonna
was
be
it
a
was going
lot
to come
of
without heart. It wasn't going to come
lot
without
of
heartache.
alcohol consumed between now and the end of June while I ride this out.
Wasn't going to come without heartache, man. It's never easy these times.
No.
All right, Alex. That's enough for the NBA preview, but we may have some more NBA content for you because we are going to stop by everyone's favorite segment, which is Degenerates Corner.
Sometimes she goes, sometimes it does. She didn't go. That's the way she goes.
22 black, 22 black. Ass, son of a bitch.
Fucking way she goes, he said.
Oh no, why did I bet the company payroll? Oh, Gil's in a lot of trouble.
Can the boys beat the number? We'll find out on Degenerates Corner.
That's the way she goes, buddy. Fucking way she goes.
Alex, let's get into Degenerates Corner. What is your best bet this week? We will skip last week because everything was baseball themed, so we will jump into that a little bit later on a later episode. But Alex, what do you have for your best bet this week?
Best bet, simple. Going to the play-in tournament on Tuesday night. I'm siding with Heat culture here, and the Hawks have been a mess all season. I'll take the Heat at home. Hell, maybe the Hawks are mature enough or immature enough, and some of them will contract the Miami flu. Very much within the realm of possibility. So Heat will lay a 5.5 with them over the Hawks. John, what say you?
Ooh, so I have 3 best bets for you today. So little hints, I will be not doing a parlay because of these 3 best bets, but there are 3 things that I just simply had circled on the calendar. The first is Newcastle to win outright versus Aston Villa tomorrow in the Premier League. Newcastle is in absolutely dominant form right now. They've won their last 5 matches. I love them versus Aston Villa as Newcastle makes their march towards European football. The second is the Boston Bruins. We're going to stick to my Boston loving theme today, even though I hate them so much. We're going to take the Boston Bruins on the money line versus the New Jersey Devils. I think the Devils I believe they might even be playing Simon Nemec as well, but Luke Hughes just out of college. This is going to be a bit of a feeling out period for the Devils as they're scratching guys, getting ready for the playoffs. Whereas the Bruins have the pedal to the metal going for the NHL win record. So I like the Bruins to win this game. And then finally, we go to the UFC because Alex, in the octagon, Alex Pereira takes on Israel Adesanya for the middleweight title. Alex Pereira, the current belt holder, let's be just frank about this one. He owns Izzy Adesanya, and I think he's going to continue owning him. He's beat him across 2 sports now, I believe 4 times. He's going to make it 5. We're going to take that one. The odds for each one, the Bruins money line is -140. Newcastle outright win is +123, and Alex Pereira win versus Israel Adesanya. Note that's any method of victory is +115. Alex, do you have a parlay or long shot for us this week?
Yeah, I figured let's try to slap one together here. So you were nice enough to float me the Kraken and the Bruins on the money line tonight. We got a 4 other legs for you here. So I'm going to take the Heat on the money line in the play-in tournament. No spread, no anything. I'm going to take your Raptors on the money line over the Bulls.
Don't do that.
I like them to take care of business. And then last, but certainly not least, we'll throw in a little XFL to juice that up. Houston Roughnecks might be the best team in the XFL. They're laying less than they're laying 5.5, so less than 6 points. So given these the net play of football in the XFL, you don't need to rely on a conversion of some kind because Lord knows I think the coach in Houston always goes for 3 every time from the 10. And then the DC Defenders and the other really good team in the XFL, like they can score. So they're playing in Seattle, and I like that game to go over 46.5. Seattle led by Ben DiNucci. Josh Gordon is his number 1 wideout. They can put up some points. So I like that. Yeah, to go over 46.5.
Plus, anytime you get it. Plus, anytime.
Just gonna say altogether that plays out as 16-13.
I know, and anytime you get to watch Josh Gordon, my man, fantastic receiver.
You don't want to pass that up. Still an insanely talented dude.
Just yeah, can't figure out the disciplinary thing, but
can't pass a drug test, but talented at catching a football.
Really, really good at football. That, by the way, favorite excuse of all time for smoking weed: secondhand weed smoke.
Yes.
Alex, let's do one last thing to close out the show. We have in recent times been doing the NBA mock draft simulator. So
yes, this is for all the losers who can't even make the LeBron James play-in tournament. The King James Invitational, as we like to call it. So John here, we got our NBA draft lottery board. Thanks to our friends at Tankathon. John, what say we spin the wheel, baby?
Okay, let's see. Right now, top odds go to the Detroit Pistons. After our simulation, we have the Portland Trailblazers.
Portland jumps. I think they jumped the entire lottery. So good for them. Congratulations, Portland. Damian Lillard, maybe you want to stick around to play with young Victor Wembanyama and maybe get Portland back on the map.
I do think that'd be an interesting one because it'd be Portland's final. Portland's been trying all this time to get a superstar. All they had to do was lose all their games to get him.
Yes. So good for Portland. They are a relatively harmless winner of the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. So I'll take that, John.
And the positive, Alex, is if he goes there, we know we'll have another Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes in like 3 years.
Exactly. Yes. Because that's typically how those things go up there in Portland. John, any parting thoughts for the people?
Not many. Just thank you for listening to our NBA playoff preview, and please catch us later this week for when we take the ice for the NHL playoff preview.
What he said.